Well, I'd definitely be lying if I said I wasn't sore today. Man, yesterday, post-holing up the side of that mountain in my rubber boots all day long. I think I got home at 4 o'clock or something. That was a good workout, I'll tell you what, but it pays off. It's just something you have to do when it comes to conservation around here anyway, and this crazy wolf problem we're experiencing. But anyway, moving along on the topic of the day today, which is more of these damn things. The email's somewhat slowed down a little bit, probably because of what I expressed to you guys about how my emails work and how many I'm getting. But believe me, I will get to every single one of them eventually. And if you really feel you need the assistance or somewhere to share, someone to talk to, someone to let this out, you can still email me at tellmystory@hot.com, and I will get to it, and we'll help you out for sure. And on that note, you didn't believe the people that have been contacting me. A lot of good, solid people out there with massive amounts of intelligence and knowledge have been contacting me and sharing some items with me. Some very unbelievable things are going on currently, and will be brought to light soon, without a doubt. But aside from all that, you know what? Just as you guys know, I'm not here to prove shit. I have zero concern for people who don't have an interest in this topic. I got zero concern for people who feel they need some proof online or something. It's not what I'm here for. I am 100% all about the people who have had troubling experiences with these things and need some answers and need some support. That's what this is about, all right? In case you were confused. And on that note, I got another story I'm going to read to you guys. Another one that came in, a typical encounter, an unnerving one, a not so cool one. And what else? I might throw in a photograph here somebody sent it to me. It looks kind of odd. I think it's already made its rounds. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below of this photograph. Sure looks like something bizarre, doesn't it? It's nothing I want to see on my trail camera. Not that I haven't seen some crazy shit on my trail cameras, but whatever. But no, I'm not sharing of the other photographs that I have, because I just don't have permission to yet. And then there's some other creepy ass photographs I've had sent to me. I do have permission, I just haven't decided yet how to go about that yet. But I'll share them eventually. So, what else? You know, it's funny, I've been in contact with somebody a few times who lived not far from me and had ongoing face-to-face encounters with a few of these things. Probably, I don't know, 30 minutes up the road from the house. And it's funny, they're explaining that at one time the younger one was walking straight towards them, you know, and he actually made eye contact with it and kept eye contact and walked towards it. And when he did that, it heard a yelp come from the timber, and then it turned around and took off. And he was pretty confident that if you did have, let's put it this way, if you had a set big enough to make eye contact with one of these things and call them on their bluff, you probably need 2 wheelbarrows to pack your set around. That would take a set, I'll tell you what, whether you're male or female, to pull that one off. But you never know, there might be something to be said there, eh? I mean, let's face it, these things, when you make eye contact with them normally on average, they run like you are the devil, which is so confusing to me because it's just bizarre. I don't understand how something that outclasses us so much and is so intimidating and can basically end you or I in a decision. It's just so confusing to me, especially being a professional hunter and taking out all characteristics and traits of various game animals. It's just so bizarre to me to see that these things, these beings, these people, these whatever they are, will actually stalk in to intimately close proximity of us when they decide to. I mean, that's some huge confidence, right? But those same beings will absolutely run in terror, somewhat, it might look like terror, when we make eye contact with them and look at them. It's just something so confusing there. And that's one of the mysteries that I would like to know, actually, eventually, is the whys. I want to know why they react the way they do. I mean, let's face it. Let's just say that you were cruising along through the timber in the darkness, and all of a sudden you saw a bit of a glowing light, and you saw 5 or 6, 8 to 1,000-pound Sasquatch being sitting around a campfire right there in the darkness, I'll guarantee you that you are not going to go sneaking in and belly crawling to within 5 yards of those things, right? You're not. I know I wouldn't. So it's just very confusing. But anyway, before I start rambling on too much, let's get into this. I just fed the horses. I got things to do. I got to go on another road trip for a few days. That's why I dumped this round bale here, so these guys can chew away at their leisure for a few days while I'm gone. But well, listen to this. Steve, I've been a fan of your channel for some while now. Not really that great at the whole social media thing, but I do manage to catch your YouTube videos as they come out. I was interested in your content before you started your Sasquatch material. Knowing of you before you included Sasquatch stories made it pretty easy for me to determine your legitimacy. I live in northwestern Montana. I'm 43, and I've lived my life in the timber. I was raised in a hunting fishing family. They didn't have much money, so those outdoor activities were a necessity, not only a hobby. Our summers would be full of weekend camping trips, fishing streams and hiking into high lakes in the Cabinet Mountain wilderness. Falls were always dictated to hunting, and it was not uncommon to have excused absences from school to pack elk out of some hole. Winters, we snowshoed, trapped, and cross-country skied. I consider myself a fairly good outdoorsman, and I'm raising my boys in the same manner. I remember numerous strange occurrences growing up while spending time hunting and fishing with my parents, but it wasn't until recently that I had to come to believe that we are not the apex predator in the mountains. I have a section of river that I really used to enjoy fishing. Lately, with the new popularity of fly fishing, I have to resort to getting access to harder to reach spots to get away from the crowd and find the solitude that I crave. This section of river is about a 1.5 mile walk from the nearest road. It's a great spot where the river braids off into 3 or 4, depending on the year, different channels that allow me to completely cross the river. West Slope cutthroat, red-bound rainbow, and bull trout can easily be found at the seams where the currents meet at the tail of each island made by the separate channels. The way I walk is fairly simple. There's a pretty substantial game trail that's easy to find and leads you to the easiest route. One time walking down there, I smelled something. I'd come off the side hill, and as I was crossing one of the many old river channels that had been carved out over the years, I didn't think much of it at first, but I began to feel uncomfortable. I slowed down and began to pay more attention. Within minutes, I heard a large animal that appeared to be circling me. It was staying out of sight, but wasn't coming in or going away. It was just moving to the side. I had bears do this before when they were trying to get my wind, and as if on cue, I began to hear a huffing sound. It didn't sound like a bear, but my mind instantly categorized it as such. I began to silently cuss myself out, thinking I'd come upon a kill. The smell. I had bear spray, and I stayed close to a larger tree that I could attempt to get up if it came to that. It was pretty thick vegetation, mainly alder, with occasional lodgepole pine. Within a few minutes, the animal was between myself and the route back to the truck. I caught a couple glimpses of brown fur through the brush, noticeably one passing a cat-faced alder that had a broken limb off. After the animal had continued to my right far enough, I began to make my way back out of there. I wasn't in the game trail any longer because I wanted to go straight up the hill to the road, and taking the game trail would have taken me in the same general direction as the animal. I wanted to move directly away from it. Within about 60 feet, I reached a cut bank and climbed up it, using an alder to help me up. Once I looked at the alder, I realized it was the same tree I had seen the animal pass in front of. I remember this thing completely covering up that distinctive tree. The alder was leaning out at the top of the cut bank. If the animal had passed in front of it, covering it up, it would have to be standing at the bottom of the bank. Nothing made sense. That would have made this thing much taller than me, as I had to reach over my head to grab the base of the tree to climb the bank. I immediately dismissed and continued out of there with no excitement. A couple weeks later, I went back to the same spot. This time driving much further up the road, has taken a completely different route, avoiding that area by probably more than a half a mile. If it was a grizzly, I convinced myself it wouldn't wander far from its kill. Once I reached the river bottom, the same uneasiness came over me. Once I had decided to turn around, I began to get vocalized at. It began as a kind of a huff, but quickly intensified into growling and yelling. It was loud. It was close. I was kind of frozen and couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was looking really hard to pick up on any movement or anything that was out of place when a slight movement caught my eye. I found myself staring at an alder patch with one pine tree growing through it. It was pretty thick, but I had definitely seen movement. Within a few seconds, I realized I was looking at a very large hand gripping the trunk of the pine tree. Once it growled, it was like the whole thing came to view. It was absolutely huge. It had an angry expression on its face, and it bared its teeth before the next growl and a yell came out of its mouth. I began moving diagonally towards the direction it had come down the hill. I was very surprised at how something so large could be so quiet. This time I had brought a Ruger Alaskan 454 Castle with me, and Bing had it in my hand without even knowing I drew it. I took off, trying to keep my wits in a direction that moved me closer to my truck, but still keeping 50 to 60 feet between us. This continued for what seemed like hours. Every time I would begin to think it was gone because I hadn't heard it, it would shake or break a tree or growl or yell at me. It was terrifying. I felt it would never end. This continued all the way to the road. I popped out where I would have walked down the road in its direction to get to my truck. I seriously thought of going in the other direction, hoping to run into someone else. I quickly decided against that and fired 3 shots at a tree on the uphill side of the road in its direction. I didn't fire on the side of the road it was on. I waited what seemed to be an hour, but I'm sure it was only a matter of seconds, and began that way. I didn't look at the timber, I just kept my eyes wide, and the hammer eared back on my reloaded pistol. Once after I went far enough, where I was going to go around the corner and lose sight of the section of road, I allowed myself to look back. It was standing on the shoulder of the road, maybe 40 feet from me. It seemed to posture up once I turned around, almost in a dominance display, like how a douchebag in a bar will puff his chest up and try to pick a fight. It stomped its foot and let out a horrible yell. It rang my ears. It reached over and grabbed what looked to be about a 6-inch larch tree, and bent it towards itself with no effort at all. I couldn't move. It continued this display of beating the crap out of the tree for a few seconds, then got into a slightly stooped posture, turned sideways, took 1 step out of sight. It was mumbling as it walked off. That's all I could hear, mumbling. No footsteps, no twigs breaking, no underbrush rustling, just mumbling. It almost sounded amused. I walked about another quarter-mile to my truck, and an out-of-state Jeep pulled up as I was taking off my pack. They asked me how the fishing was once they saw the rod tube on my day pack. I couldn't get a word out. They took off once I turned to the side and uncoupled my empty holster from my belt. I think the empty holster caused them to notice the pistol on the hood of my truck. I haven't ever said a word of this to anyone other than my wife. I think she believes something spooked me, but not that it was a 10-foot-plus bipedal animal. I haven't been back there. I took the family up that river last spring to pick morel mushrooms, but the anxiety I had with my 2 little boys running around was too much. I wasn't even close to the spot. I've listened to your podcast and other YouTube Sasquatch channels, but a lot of them just seem lonely or bored. They seem like they want attention. Then I'll hear something that'll rub me the wrong way, like some of these guys that claim to talk to them and that they are furry forest brothers. I don't buy it. If it wanted me, it could have had me. I had the pistol. I'm an excellent shot, but I can't help feel I was undergunned for a 1-shot stop. It definitely didn't want me there, and it didn't want to be my friend. I apologize for the long email. I just wanted to get it out there. I started out really skeptical when you started off with the Sasquatch stuff, but I really had a good opinion of you, and you eventually proved me right. Thanks, Steve, and keep fighting the fight. Look me up if you're ever in my area. I want to float around a river or shoot some gophers. Thanks, M. There you go. There's another one. And take note of how this fella felt when he took his wife and kids out in the woods and didn't go near there, but obviously full of anxiety and concern, which anybody with half a firing brain would, right? And that's another thing that kind of somewhat pisses me off. You know, I don't give a shit about the government. scientists. They're all in bed with each other financially, and I have zero concern for them. They're not going to acknowledge these things. Doesn't matter. But for all of you people who are having these shit-eating encounters, I realize it's not easy to talk openly about these things, but if you do and show confidence and honesty, nobody gets in your face. They just don't. And you know what? Coincidentally, 10 minutes ago or half an hour ago, I grabbed this round bale off a buddy of mine, farmer down the road, and sure enough, he told me of him and his mother seeing one run across the road in front of them, just down the road here, right? And I'm quite certain, I've known him for years, and I'm quite certain the only reason he shared that with me is he can see my confidence and my honesty when it comes to this topic. So, but what I'm getting at is for all of you in your communities where you're having these experiences, I think it's probably for the better interest of everybody in the community that you speak openly about these things and inform people, okay? Because even if I was closed-minded and I didn't want to deal with this topic, but I had children and I lived rurally, I think deep down I would still prefer to have somebody speak openly about this to at least get that little nest egg in my head so that I could somewhat deal with a potential future experience appropriately. Okay? So, so what I'm saying is, although it's hard not to get frustrated with people who don't accept these facts, you can still somewhat help them out or potentially help them out for what may happen in their future in your community and where you frequent the outdoors. All right? So that's about it for right now. And I will come back and I'm gonna keep reading all these experiences that people are sending in to me. Nobody's gonna stop me. It has to be done. And what else? All right, I'm gonna repeat myself on what I'm gonna say next a few times in the upcoming future because I think it's very important for all of you. It's important for all of you so I can help you clue into who to listen to, who's credible and who isn't. And again, I strongly advise you, if you ever go to any kind of a convention or a gathering when it comes to this topic, and if you come across anyone who actually expects you to give them money for a photograph of their face, or you come across anyone who attempts to charge you money to take a selfie with them, they are screaming in your face that they do not give a shit about you and they see you as an opportunity.